Welcome back to Teamtalk. We're having a lot of fun putting the show out on a weekly basis, and the interviews that we've got with entrepreneurs, with people who involve themselves in the entrepreneurial economy, if you want, have been absolutely outstanding. So big thank you there. Don't forget to please like and comment and follow and join us on the journey. South African entrepreneurship is one that needs as much stimulus as it can get, and Knife Capital, Thinkroom, CreativCarbon, a whole bunch of us behind this are enjoying every step of the way. All suggestions welcome as well. We want to talk this week about another kind of exit, because it happens in sports sometimes, and many people think it's sad. Either cricket or rugby players go overseas and play internationally for other clubs. Sometimes they go back and represent South Africa in different parts of the season, and sometimes they're lost to that economy of rugby and sport in South Africa forever. I've got a very good friend who played with me at a junior level in South Africa and moved overseas, ended up being the captain of Saracens Rugby team, which is, I'm not sure this is the correct English, but it's the winningest premiership rugby team of the last decade. And he was the captain of that side and lifted the European Championship Cup trophy many times, and certainly the Premiership trophy many times. He remains a very, very good friend. He's a fantastic marketer. He's a wonderfully out there individual. They got into an industry that we all like. And here's a little promo video before we play an interview with my friend Alistair Hargreaves, the Wolfpack Lager crew, and it's called Blood, Sweat and Beers. Enjoy.
We're privileged to be professional athletes doing something we love, but we understand that it won't last forever.
A lot of what we need to focus on as rugby players really is life after rugby.
We've just been good mates for a long time, and the more and more we spent time together, the more and more conversations started turning to life after rugby. And I suppose I was just terrified that after rugby I'd have to go get a desk job somewhere, and I wanted to carry on looking forward to going to work every single morning. Myself and Wazzy always used to go and have coffee after rugby. It was either coffee or a beer.
We were in coffee shops and pubs.
We had ideas that came and went, but one really stuck.
So we started a brewery.
We kind of went on an absolute mission. We were visiting scrapyards and flying around all over the place.
We ended up coming across a dinged up double-decker bus. We converted it into a bar, started pouring beer, and that's how Wolfpack Craft Lager was born.
Our first beer is Wolfpack Lager. We've now expanded from our stadium and we've moved into local venues that we love. It's actually been a really cool journey for us. It's not always easy. You usually end up pretty exhausted after a long, hard day, and sometimes we have to shower up, get in the car straight to the office. But I suppose it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain.
It's a real privilege to be involved in an industry that's thriving. We're very passionate about brewing, passionate about beer. After a long day's work or a tough rugby game, it's just amazing to sit down with a cold pint with your mates.
It's social. It's about more than just beer. It's about the people.
We have huge aspirations in terms of where we want this company to be.
There are a lot of parallels between sport and our business.
That competitiveness and that desire, that motivation.
I think when you're passionate about something, you work hard at it, you're competitive with it, and we want to take that ethos and transfer that into business.
And I think that's what's great about Chris and I. We're always motivated to do bigger and better things. We've recently found a beautiful old industrial garage.
And we want to turn it into a tap room. We want to turn it into a touch point for our brand.
When we originally started, we spent months saying, how cool would it be to see one person in a pub ordering a pint of Wolfpack Lager? And here we are 2 years on, and we're saying, well, how can we take us even further? What can we do to make this bigger and better?
It's always the next step in how you can push yourself in your career and how you can take out every little bit of potential that you've got.
It's that ambition that really makes us tick. There's always more to create and kind of more memories to be made.
Great promo video which gets to the ethos of what they do at or the Wolfpack crew and what they get up to. Here's the interview with Ali. Please forgive us any sound and quirkiness about that. It's a little bit grungy and right inside one of the venues. I think it's outstanding, and so is their story. Have a listen. There we go. Look at that. Friday evening with Ali Hargreaves. And where are you, bud? Let's start at your venue, and then I want to fire up some questions a little bit about the journey to get there.
Great, John. I'm at our bar, the Wolfpack Bar in West Hampstead. So Northwest London, opened in February. So very good timing. Just about a month before lockdown kicked in the UK. But yeah, back open now, and it's been about a month since we were open and going nicely. Yeah, pretty chuffed with the way it started, and nice to be back in business.
Oh, brilliant, man. Ali, I've mentioned it a few times. Our show it's entrepreneurial. We talk to people who've started their own businesses. We talk to people who on that journey to to selling businesses, to buying businesses, etc. But we've tried to keep a core theme going through. People like you and me, we've had a vocation for a while. We've been lucky enough to play some pro sport, to play a game that we love. But then the entrepreneurial bug has bitten. We've gone into an industry, or we've gone into something that we enjoyed. And you are a perfect example of exactly that. My passion is VC and the businesses themselves. Your passion here is not only working with people, and being out there in terms of building a product and starting from the beginning, but combining that and the following that you've had from the rugger into what the Wolfpack has become. Please, just in your own words, tell us a bit about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, my business partner is a very good friend of mine called Chris Wiles, and he always laughs because someone says, "Well, just give us 5 minutes on the story," and I end up spending 45 minutes on it. So I try to keep it as brief as I can. But yeah, I think I was always very conscious that that as a professional rugby player, there always will be life after rugby, and kind of from a young age, I was always told that this is only going to be a very small part of your business career, I suppose your earning career as well. So I was always looking for little things to do on the side to make sure that I had options when the day came to retire. And myself and Chris used to live actually up the road from this bar in West Hampstead. And kind of the older we got, the more tired we got, and the more useless we got, the more we started talking about, well, what is that next step? And how do we put ourselves in a position where we can actually move into something after rugby, rather than being one of those kind of sad cases where guys end up a little bit without purpose. And Saracens are always brilliant, and I must say Saracens really kind of sparked that desire to want to do something, to want to invest time during my rugby career, so that I am set up for life after rugby. And they've made introductions, and they really encourage players to have another hobby, and another side to them as well. And Chris and I started speaking to sponsors and to connections of the club owners about what can we do as players to be able to make sure that we are attracted to businesses like yours post our careers. And probably the best bit of advice we got was, as rugby players, you have skills that are incredibly important to businesses. You've got discipline, you communicate well, you work well within teams, all those different things, all those kind of, I suppose they're not cliches, but all those truths about a rugby team. But he said, unless you've shown that you can display them away from a rugby field, pretty irrelevant. So we set about saying, okay, well, how do we start our own business? And how do we leverage the network we've got and the support base we've got at Saracens? And obviously, being rugby players and never being too far away from a pint since 2012, we thought, why don't we start brewing some craft here, see what happens? The beer at the stadium at the time was pretty crap. And we thought, we could try to do a better job. So we bought a double-decker London sightseeing bus, put 15 taps into it, and the first game before the season in 2012-13, we parked it on the corner of the field at Allianz Park. And told the CEO was like, what's going on here? And I was like, well, what's the story? We said, well, you said you couldn't serve at the bars because you had a contract, but this is not your bar, it's our bar, it's a bus. And the first day absolutely flew. I think we did, we started a ton of beer and started realizing that this could be a real business to move into. So that was really the start of the journey and what made us catch the bag.
And tell me, in terms of the economics of it, so you two got into it as partners. Rugby players or sportsmen and women are lucky to sometimes have a bit of access to capital. Did you sort of lump sum it up? Are there other partners? Did you guys build up a budget yourselves? How did you go about from the very beginning? I mean, craft brewing, as we know, is an expensive thing to get into, especially if you haven't been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, it's an expensive thing to get into, and they're on. It's very romantic, own a brewery. There aren't too many success stories out of that space. And we did start by looking at railway arches in industrial areas, and we looked at importing brewing kits from Belgium and kind of installing ourselves and trying to brew beer ourselves and all the rest of it. And eventually we came to this thing. We looked at and again, it's been said a million times before in every business you go to. Well, how do you try and build your business model to be agile? Yeah. And we thought, well, Airbnb, biggest hotel in the world, don't own any hotels. Uber, biggest taxi service in the world, don't own any cars. We were like, well, how do we build a hub and spoke kind of model where we don't actually have to own the brewery, but we'll own the brands and outsource the important things. So from the get-go, we thought we'd have to put in, $200. It was about $200,000 to get a little brewery together at pounds. And we're not going to make as good a beer as experts will do. And we will have to run a factory, essentially, a manufacturing plant, on top of playing rugby and on top of trying to live our lives. So we thought, okay, well, actually, let's design the beer, let's build a brand, and let's find brilliant partners to be able to execute on the technical side of things. So that's kind of how we started. So we found a brewing partner. So we contract brewed from the get-go. And then yeah, we thought, well, we have to sell beer at a stadium. These are the only people that are probably going to buy a beer because we've got some relevancy there. And as I said, we couldn't serve in the actual bars at the stadium. So we bought this bus. So Chris and I went on a mission around the UK trying to find scrapyards and all the rest of it. And it was costing about £20,000 just to get going. So we put that in. And we made that back over the first kind of 2 weeks of trading.
Brilliant.
And then we started saying, okay, well, this is a real business. What's the roadmap to making it sustainable? A couple of local pub stars asked me if they could have the beer, and we started thinking and taking advice on how do we raise money and what's the next step if this business is going to be something that's more than a hobby.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Tell
by the way.
me, cheers, my mate. I'm so jealous. In fact, I was going to change my background here. I'm going to see what I can do.
Very boring.
I don't have any beer background there. Okay, fishing. I'm going fishing on a trout stream.
Give us a beach or something,
Yeah, I should have. Man. I'll tell you, flipping. I'm not happy with you being in a pub at the moment. In fact, you're making me thirsty. I'm going to move out of this one. Ali, can I ask you about the economics? What does the beer sell for? How many in the range at the moment? Is it the one lager that you've got? How do other people get access to it? And then you've moved into your own. You've got your own venue as well, which you're sitting in. It looks fantastic and well kitted out. Tell us about how that works.
Yeah, so when I started that, I think when we got into it, we looked at craft beer. Craft beer was taking off in 2012, and the whole reason the craft beer movement came about was as a stand against mainstream bland fizzy yellow lager. So what people started doing, it kind of started in the UK. It was inspired by UK ales, picked up by the Americans, and they really focused on IPAs, which are really hop-forward, strong, fruity, flavored beers, high ABV, that made people stand up and go, geez, beer can be really tasty. It doesn't just have to be something that has to be incredibly cold to drink on a hot day. This can have substance and body and all the rest of it.
It's funny. I heard some of the. We used to go to a pub in Parsons Green years ago, and they used to bring in the sort of Franco-Belgian beers, with the cherry flavors and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was reading a book about the Brewdog guys, and they were saying some of the inspiration was that why should beer be this warm, crappy thing that people don't enjoy? It can be flavorful. It can be. Can't we do with beer what people have done with normal soft drinks? And the answer was yes. And now you're a £2 billion industry. So you guys have cottoned on to that and jumped onto the trend.
Absolutely, and probably more than soft drinks, it's wine. Well, why can't beer be a premium drink that's paired with meals? That's had on different occasions rather than watching a game of sport. And as South Africans, I think we've got a very limited appreciation for beer styles. We drink cold lager. And that was it. So it really opened my eyes to, craft beer. I was like, well, this is great. I've always loved the beer, too, as you know, and exploring new styles is actually pretty fun. Are you talking about the White Horse in Parsons Green, by the way?
I am, yes.
So the White Horse is famous because, talk about this craft beer movement, there's a very famous microbrewery called Goose Island. It's now owned by AB InBev, so one of the biggest in the world. But the inspiration was an American guy went to the White Horse and drank a pint of London Pride, which is cask ale, like kind of the things in South Africa that we go, well, the warm, flat stuff. And this guy said, we can't get this in the States. How do I do this? Went to the States, took the concept of ale, carbonated it, and that is kind of really the start of craft beer.
Oh, that's amazing. So, I didn't know that. Good knowledge.
Yeah, they started inspired by the UK, brought to relevance by the States, and then obviously it's come back this way. But when we got into it, everyone was making IPAs, 7.9%, triple hops, chocolate chili stout and all this, and we were going, hang on, at the end of the day, craft beer is great. I love craft beer, but most people actually want to drink something that's accessible. And lager doesn't have to be crap. It actually can be premium. It can be nice. It can be really well made. And there weren't a lot of people doing that in craft. So we're like, we're just going to focus on one thing. We're going to make lager. So a very long way of answering your question.
No, but it's a good one. Niches.
The best craft lager.
Well, exactly. Niches are incredibly important. And then I wanted you to jump onto your own venue. How does that work? When is it open? You said in West Hampstead. Available. Are you doing food and beers and pairings? And what's the story?
Yeah, we've got two. We've got one in Queen's Park, which is not far from here. That was an old and I'll just use mechanics kind of garage. So we've got a tap room there that just has beer. So that was our starting point, and that's gone really well. And again, learnings from the Wolfpack bus that still exists at Saracens. Obviously, if you're the supplier and the retailer, there's some good margins in there. So that's been great, and we started to build a real tribe and purpose around what Wolfpack stands for at our bar in Queen's Park, and opened the second one in West Hampstead, about 6 months later. And yeah, they've been brilliant, and we supply. That's one part of our business, is the retail side, or our own retail, as you said, and then we supply about 350 bars in the UK with our product as well, with our beer.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about the business itself now. What are you guys aiming at turning? And 350 venues is outstanding in terms of what I know, but I don't know how many are out there. You know, how big are you compared to the other guys, and where do you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been important to us to try and actually limit our how we scale. Well, probably maybe not how we scale, but where we scale. So 350 is great, but they've got to be the right places. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're building a brand. We want this brand to be sustainable and long term. And I think people can get overawed with, I'm now in Sainsbury's and I'm now in 1,000 bars. Oh, there's my wife calling in the background. Sorry, decline.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Going to get me into trouble later on because it's her birthday. But yes, I think people can get carried away with scaling too quickly. We just focus on making sure that we are in the right places to do the right things. I think in terms of numbers, look, our model revolves around us having what we call spiritual homes, which are our bars, which are obviously good profit centers. I mean, each bar that we own needs to turn over £1 million. That's a prerequisite. So, and if that's run well, that profits us up nicely and allows us to invest in the beer side of our business, which requires a lot of legwork, marketing. You've constantly got to be in people's faces, reminding them of why you are different to a Stella or a Pilsner Pro, or why you should buy Wolfpack rather than anybody else. So for us, the stage we are in our business now, we're growing rapidly, but we're reinvesting to make sure we've got a strong foundation, and that there's salience behind the brand and awareness around what Wolfpack is and what it stands for. And what it stands for, coming back to where we started, is Wolfpack's about this idea of togetherness, right? The strength of the wolf is in the pack. And that's what we think is really missing in society. And COVID's really brought that to life, right? People just miss being with their friends and being together. And through our beer and through our pubs, we want to give people a platform to connect, to engage, and to have fun.
What I want to do, Ali, on the show as we go forward from this interview, I'm gonna chuck up a couple of the videos that you did. That was really fun. I mean, just pre-opening during COVID, you guys walking down, you were throwing lagers around, big smiles, having the beers or whatever. Is it been good to be part of the marketing yourself? Are you guys using that because it's bootstrap, marketing spend, and you, to be honest, you spoke about salience, but you guys at the moment are the brand. You know what I mean? When they see the brand and you together, it reinforces everything.
Well, that's a great thing. I mean, I worked for a marketing agency for a few years after rugby before I joined Wolfpack full time, and I think the wonderful thing about running your own business is you are the marketing arm, you are the finance arm, you are the sales guy, and every Monday night, Chris and I are the barman. Here at West Hampstead, and you get a real sense of how the business is run from top to bottom. So yeah, those little things that are during the COVID lockdown in the UK were incredibly successful. We've got some really nice traction, but it's just us being us and sharing the story and using social media as a way to kind of give people a glimpse behind the curtain, to be like, actually, we're just two guys who, started off pretty clueless. We're probably a little bit less clueless, but still kind of learning our trade, but having a bloody good time while we're doing it as well. And that's a story we want to share.
Fantastic. Well, one of the things that this show is about is sharing all the handles where people can see you guys and the Wolfpack story. I love the idea of the blood, sweat, and beers, and your advert. So we'll direct some people that way. And you mentioned you might be kind enough to throw a 6-pack if people are towards some people in the UK, if they do some sharing. We can chat about that, and the details will come later up on the show. Is there anything else you wanted to, in terms of a shout out, you want to encourage people to engage with Wolfpack? What have you guys got coming up? The Premiership season has started again.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, this is the thing, right? We're in a really uncertain world at the moment. And hospitality, we're at the coalface, right? Where we're going kind of, it's a bit hand to mouth. So last week was great. The week before was great. This week looks good. I mean, whether we can get back to rugby game anytime soon or whether pubs start seeing the same footfall and same numbers that I were doing this time last year, it remains to be seen. So, look, give us a follow on Instagram, engage with us, and if you see a cold pint of Wolfpack knocking around, make sure you grip it and sip it, and send us some feedback and enjoy it. That's what I like. At the end of the day, like I say, craft beer it can be really pretentious and it can be quite strange. We just have to have fun. It's beer, and it's to get around a table with your mates and make some memories.
Brilliant, Ali. Well, listen, thanks for the catch up, my man. Give us a little tour of a little visual tour of what's happening there around you, and during that you can give us a sign off. Great to have you on the show. Look forward to catching up with you as a friend, but we'll also be pushing your stuff on our show going forward. And congratulations on being on this entrepreneurial journey.
Thanks, Bob. Great to chat. And so where are the majority of your viewers? Are they South African or British?
We've got a bit of both. You know, I'm at the British office of Knife Capital. Knife Capital started in Cape Town, but we are here and in Jersey, and then we've got partners and friends from around the world.
Okay, well, your British viewers won't like this, but I've managed to put some South African touches into the bar. So first of all, I've just snuck this in there.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. How did you get away with that? I love it.
Every Friday, I like to just make sure we get on the screens in the background. So mate, just get the World Cup final up there just to make sure the guy, just. There's our company motto. I don't know if you can see it. So the screen there.
Speak of you.
Can you see the neon sign?
I can see the neon sign on the right. Is that the logo with the wolf? Don't be a dick. Perfect. Don't be evil. Don't be a dick. I love it.
When you run a bar, it's quite simple. So there's the team.
Fantastic. That venue looks outstanding, Ali. I look forward to joining you for a beer on that show.
Yeah.
And thanks for being so open about the business and showing us the ins and outs. Awesome.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
Okay, my man. Thanks very much.
Cheers, brother. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. As Ali signing off there, we're just saying a big thank you to him and Chris and Wolfpack Lager. What a brilliant interview. Back to you guys on the show, and we will certainly understand a little bit more about their competition by the end of what we talk about today. Big thanks to Al. He's a superstar for the silver screen, as you can see. As always, we've got a cheat sheet at the end of the show. You can see all the details for Wolfpack Lager, the venues, how you can get to them, and any of the other things that are mentioned on the show. We always put a cheat sheet up. You also see it on our social media, so please, if you are searching, then go and have a look at those. You saw Al mention a little giveaway. What we're going to do on our cheat sheet this week is we're going to tell you who you need to follow, and he's going to pick a follower and send a 6-pack of lager. Unfortunately, the first one, you've got to be UK based, but that's all right. You'll be drinking and cheersing us on the show. Let's move forward because we've got grindstone companies we want to profile. Bradley Elliott from Continuon and Oren Cohen from G-Work are two entrepreneurs who've really caught the eye of the cohorts already. They've started some international expansion. In particular, Oren and I, we've spoken about businesses that are trying to get remote teams functioning, not only on a technical level, but on an emotional one too. Have a look at these businesses.
My name is Brad. I'm the founder of Continuon. I come from a marketing and technology background. The first startup I founded is a business called Platinum Seed, which is a digital agency. We incubated a number of startups out of that business, and we also partnered with startups and blue chip clients from both South Africa and around the world. That business has been running for 11 years now. One of the first startups we tried to incubate out of that business was called Checkout, which was a mobile payment solution about 1.5 years before Yoko. Failed dismally because of EMV regulation, and we learned a lot about doing due diligence. Continuon is the third startup I'm involved in. We're extremely humbled and grateful to be part of this Grindstone program. Continuon is a social intelligence tool. What that means is we basically use social data and help customers make more intelligent decisions using that data combined with other owned data that they have, such as transactional and CRM data. Looking forward to meeting you all and working alongside you. Cheers.
Hi everyone, my name is Oran Cohen and I'm the founder of G-Work. G-Work helps remote teams manage culture and performance and drive behavior change over time. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of this program and I can't wait to meet you all.
So part of the role of Knife Capital is to make sure that these guys can tell you about their business in a concise manner, tell you what they do, tell you what they're trying to achieve. Please remember, we will promote all of the businesses over the course of the shows, but in particular now, I want you to have a look at that have a look at that video and then seize the opportunity to contact Oran Cohen from G-Work. We've done an internal bit of work with him on one of our businesses here, in particular Thinkroom, which does a lot of remote work and has to manage programs and platforms all over Africa, in fact all over the world. Feedback absolutely outstanding. He's pinpointed exactly where we're going to get better in what are uncertain times. Okay, that's a wrap for the show. I want to thank you again for joining. Don't forget, please like, comment, and give us feedback wherever you want to. Cheat sheet coming up, and we'll see you next week.